Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Krensman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks. How are you? Good morning.
How are you? I'm great.
Good. That beats the alternative if you were not great. Coming to you as always from the studios of a very hot and humid Undefeated Media here in the beautiful.
We do have air conditioning.
We do.
All right,
I was referring to the outside.
All right, good.
The people at Undefeated Media had to pay their bills. We have the AC on.
Yes.
Here in Bergen County, New Jersey, this is Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast. Thanks for joining us. You can hear us as always on Facebook, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and maybe some other secret places. If you look kind of hard enough and you do some detective work, you can find us in some other places. As always, you can contact us via email. You can always send your questions or comments or feedback to mypbshow@gmail.com. For those following on camera can see that on the screen, mypbshow@gmail.com. And this is on the Spanish dial for the Spanish audience, Trenta Cuatro, episode number 34, which is, who would have ever thought we made it 34 shows when we met last year? But here we are on episode 34, and I need to start with an apology because we skipped a show. We should have been on 2 weeks ago.
It should be 35.
It should be 35.
We're having our 35th anniversary right now.
Well, now we'll put the champagne on ice for another 2 weeks. We had to take off 2 weeks ago. I was literally inundated with my real job, so. Yeah. That is why we kind of canned it for a week. So
it is the biggest weekend of the year
for the grilling. People in the grilling industry, yes. Memorial Day is like the kickoff. So we do in what I do, which we've talked about, is a busy time of year. So, but I'm here, and we should hopefully be back on the 2-week schedule. And then I do think certainly by the fall we'll be back to every week because we have to be with our NFL picks. Yeah. But I also think that may happen earlier than the fall. Fingers crossed in the summer. And one of the things we're going to do a shift here in the next couple shows. We're going to start bringing on some guests, like business guests. We're called Mind Your Puckin' Business. We talk a ton of hockey.
Yeah. We've been doing a lot of pucking.
We do. We've been doing a lot of pucking around here. So we've been doing a lot of hockey, but we're going to kind of focus on in the next month or two the local business sector. We're going to bring on some cool guests, some cool local businesses here in Bergen County, from places that are one of the top 50 donut shops in America, to a business that is just gone crazy in a year. Like the coolest concept if you're into food and parties. We're going to bring them on, and then we're going to have some other cool guests. So stay tuned for that. Nice. That's coming up in the next couple weeks. So everything good with you?
Can't complain.
Again, very good. Yeah. We're usually, I felt like I had to throw in the hot and humid thing because in the winter we complained about how freezing it was. So I've got to at least.
I won't complain this much. I'd rather this than be cold.
Yeah, I'm torn. As a redhead, and as a redhead that spent the entire weekend on outdoor fields with my kids' sports, it can be brutal this time of year.
Have you ever seen Blade?
No.
It's basically he's a vampire that can walk around the day. Like he's like a half vampire, half human. I'm like a day walker. So I have some red tints, but I can tan.
Got it. See, I don't.
Yeah.
The true story. When I graduated college, you can look it up in May of 2002. I graduated from Boston University, and it was a overcast day in May. The sun was not out, and it was kind of a light drizzle throughout the day. And we were out on Nickerson Field in Boston. And I had the whole red robe on, the cap, the gown, everything. That night, my family had gone back home to New Jersey. They came up for the graduation. And a bunch of my friends and I went to the local college bar. And I always remember this. And I was standing in the bar. And I remember saying to my friend, is there something wrong with my neck? I can't feel my neck. I was burnt to a crisp. But I got burnt literally. There was no sun, 60 degrees and May. And that is why you don't want to be a redhead, folks. Wow. So let's talk about better things. And we're going to start with a team that deserves to be talked about. And it's not hockey. We're going to get there. But a local team, and that is the New York Knickerbockers. Yeah. Because what an amazing season they had. Yes. We did mention them a little bit throughout the course of their what would be the word? Abbreviated regular season because they had the corona effect. But this was a team that was never supposed to be good. Now, I don't usually like to admit it, and it's a little bit easier to admit right now. I am also a Knicks season ticket holder. We know I have Ranger season tickets, clearly, or I wouldn't be here. But I am a Knicks season ticket holder. And the year that they had and the job that they did, I know the playoffs was a brutal week for them. They, as you know, were bounced by the Atlanta Hawks in 5 games. And if you watched these games, and I'm going to go on the assumption that you did not, but you can tell me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Wow. Okay. So you can tell me.
I've been watching a good chunk of basketball.
Okay. So when you watch the Knicks in the playoffs, now I'm not getting on them at all. They had a great year, and their future is
a lot of people getting on them, but yeah.
Well, their future now is great, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But did you feel, because I felt all through the series, they never were really in the games, and when they were in the games, if they made a run and they made it close, other than game 2, which they won, and they had to come back in the second half, it was just a bad feeling the whole series.
Yeah, it looked like they forgot to tie their shoes.
Yeah,
there was always something like, it was like, come on, man, like tie your shoes. It's time to play the game. They never were in the game. So it was a frustrating week, and you can't really allow that to cloud your view of their season, because they were never supposed to be good. Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, they had the lowest over-under in total wins. They had the lowest amount of projected wins in the Eastern Conference, and they finished 4th. And now you've got some questions if you are Leon Rose in the front office of the New York Knicks, because Kawhi Leonard, I had a discussion. So 2 years ago, Kawhi Leonard basically ended the Golden State Warriors dynasty by himself in the finals and carried the Toronto Raptors. He then left to go to the Clippers, and he's been good for the 2 years there. He hasn't been amazing, but he's been very good. And I had actually texted a friend on Friday who knows much more basketball than me, and I said to him, I said, look, do you think the Knicks should go after Kawhi because he's a free agent? And as a free agent, you don't have to give anything up, right? You're not giving up any of your young assets. And he said, well, you know what? He's got a lot of miles in the tank. And then look what he did this weekend. He dropped 45 on Friday night. He dropped another ton of points. I forgot the amount yesterday in Game 7 and carried him. So if you're the Knicks, I mean, I would think that's your target. Now, the other thing that they are being rumored to be involved in is Damian Lillard wants out of Portland, who would be the better pick between the two.
How about that, dude? No, but I mean, in this new NBA style where people are teaming up, how about that for a duo, Damian Lillard and Kawhi?
But the problem with Damian Lillard is understandable, and this is going to have to be the case, because you need to trade him. He's a young superstar. You're going to have to give up a lot. So you're probably giving up RJ Barrett, who kind of did have a good year too. Is he going to be a star in the league? I'm not sold on it, but you're going to have to give up a lot of picks, which the Knicks have. So the Knicks are going to be fascinating here in the offseason, because not only are there a lot of roads they can go down, but they're going to have the opportunity to go down some very interesting roads and make some changes. Now, will they stay the course with the rebuild? I don't think so. I mean, look.
You need to get a superstar.
Right.
You need to get a superstar ASAP.
And if you can somehow get Kawhi Leonard, I mean, I would think that's the target, not because Kawhi is better than Damian Lillard, but because Kawhi doesn't cost you anything except cap room, which you have. Damian Lillard is going to cost you some of these young guys. So let's hypothetically say for a minute you brought in Kawhi Leonard. You then have Kawhi. You have Julius Randle. You have RJ Barrett. You have Emmanuel Quickley. This is, and you still have 4 draft picks because you're loaded in the draft this year. Plus, you have cap room. I mean, the Knicks really are at a point almost like the Rangers were, or they kind of are now, where look, they're not going to win it next year. But if you kind of go through this window of opportunity right now, and you do it right, you're going to have a good chance. Yeah.
One, you forgot about Derrick Rose.
Yeah, I should have said it.
I think he's better than Julius Randle. Julius Randle had a great season, but when crunch time happened, we saw those numbers drop. The big argument right now is that it was between Kawhi and LeBron. When Kawhi had to face a Game 7, face elimination, he stepped up and overcame. LeBron is not putting the team on his shoulders anymore.
Yeah, it'll be a very interesting offseason here with the Knicks. And we'll see. Now, look, the NBA is just starting the second round yesterday. So we're a long way away from free agency. Yes. Because the NBA Finals now, with it starting later, is going to run into July this year and maybe even August. So you're not going to have definitive answers here, but it will be very interesting to see the way that the Knicks go. But let's give them credit. I give them credit. Give Tom Thibodeau credit, who was a great coaching hire, apparently. Had the team playing defense. Julius Randle, you're right, was awful in the playoffs, but you can't overlook what he did in the regular season, how good he was.
True, but they're like different. It's different pressure, different mentality. So
but you know what?
Well, great job.
The real test. You're not wrong, but the real test for Julius Randle, to what you're saying, and that's a fair point, is what happens then when he's in the playoff next. Because if it happens again, then 100% this has been 2 years. Yeah. If it's your first time and maybe there were the nerves, should it be that way? No. But if we can overcome that the next time we're in the playoffs, and hopefully this team is destined to get there again, we'll give you a pass this year.
Because that's the argument right now, is that Julius Randle really is a 2 or a 3, is like the second or third option. He really shouldn't be. He's been thrown into this number one superstar position because they have no one else.
Yeah.
So if you get Dame, you get Kawhi. Kawhi.
I like how you call him Dame, like your friend. I know Damian Lillard's name is Dame, but I like how it's like
Dame.
Dame.
We're bros, dude. I'm gonna get him on the show.
He hangs out on Undefeated Media.
Yeah, all the time. Green screen.
The
Nike.
The room down the hall.
Dame, Derek, Kawhi, Julius Randle.
Look at you. You're all boys. But you are going to be the sixth man award off the bench for the next season.
They need to get a superstar. They're not attracting any superstar. That's why.
Well, hopefully this is
Durant, Harden, and
yes. But that hasn't. But look, Harden is injury prone. He got hurt again the other day. Durant is still coming off an ACL, and Kyrie is a head case. Look, I would like to have that roster.
Not arguing that. I'm just saying Knicks need to attract a superstar.
Well, here's your chance with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, buddy.
So on the other side of Madison Square Garden sits the New York Rangers front office, and I think we have an answer, but no one is realizing this on what they're going to do with their coach. So I said to you, and you will not remember this, but I said to you sometime back in like April when I was on the train for them to get rid of David Quinn, and I said, David Quinn is not the right man to run this team. And you said to me, who should they go and get then? Because you didn't know who would be available, but you wanted to know an answer. And I said they should go get Gerard Gallant, who led the Vegas Golden Knights to the Stanley Cup Finals in the expansion's first season. Think about that. I mean, it almost doesn't even seem like that's possible. And then got fired a year and a half later when the team was still doing well. So the Rangers interviewed Gerard Gallant. So when they got rid of David Quinn, they interviewed Gerard Gallant. And then Gerard Gallant couldn't be signed because he left on a plane later that day to go play in the World Championships. He was the coach for Team Canada.
Okay.
Right? Team Canada started out terribly. Now, you can't use this junior tournament to determine if he's an NHL coach. But the tournament ended yesterday. Do you want to guess what country won it?
Canada.
There you go. So Gerard Gallant, again, we're not going to put a lot of stock in this tournament, won with a bunch of guys that he has never coached before.
Okay.
And he is clearly the best candidate out there. Now, the Rangers could not sign him or any other NHL team for that matter until this tournament was over because he's been in Europe. Now, he did also interview with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Okay.
He did coach there back in like 2004. He's not going there. The only other possible destination, if I was Gerard Gallant, is there is a new expansion team coming into the league, the Seattle Kraken. And so, look, he's had obviously the best resume you could ever have with an expansion team, which he did in Vegas. So Seattle, you would think, would be interested. But if you're Gerard Gallant, do you want to go coach in the Pacific Northwest with a team of players put together? Or you can come to New York City in an original six franchise and coach a team who, as we've talked about with Lafreniere and Kakko and Zibanejad and Panarin and Adam Fox and Shesterkin, all these young guys. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. So I am going to guess that. Go ahead.
Why did he get released from the Golden Knights?
He got released from the Golden Knights. Something behind the scenes must have happened because when they released him, it was a shock and the team was playing well. Now brings up a good point, right? Well, why you got to look into why he was fired. I don't know if the voice sometimes gets old after 3 or 4 years. We see that with NHL coaches. I'm not sure. Peter DeBoer, who took over, has really not done any better than Gerard Gallant did. He hasn't done terrible. So Gerard Gallant has got to be the answer. I would think you would see this deal done now sometime this week. The thing that is a little discouraging, if you want to look at the surface of it, is the Rangers have invited back last week Rick Tocchet for a second interview, who I don't even know why the Rangers interviewed him in the first place. But you have to think that maybe the thought process in having him interview a second time was to make it seem like they were still out there looking. And I think they probably have made up their mind on Gerard Gallant. He was their top target. And aside from that, it was reported that he interviewed very well with the Rangers. So do the math, and then he got on a plane and left and won a tournament. So hopefully when you and I are back in 2 weeks again, we can talk about the new coach of the New York Rangers being Gerard Gallant. But with the way the New York Rangers are, you never know.
Yep.
You never know. So we'll see. And I don't think, and the scary part of it is, if Gerard Gallant is not the coach, let's say the Rangers go a different way, or Gerard Gallant takes another job, I'm not sure there's a second really good option there either. So that will be something to watch in the coming weeks, but I would expect that to be done. So the draft lotto went last week. And one of our studio audience in here, Brian, who's sitting in here today, said about a month ago, and he was right. Well, when the Rangers ripped the NHL, there ain't no chance the Rangers are hitting the lotto again, and he was right, because they did not. They finished where they should. There was a 1% chance they were getting the 1 pick. There was a 1% chance they were getting the 2 pick, and a 98% chance they were getting the 15th pick, and they got where they probably should have been. And we will share the wealth. We will not complain about it. And the draft this year does not. Let's show you how lucky the Rangers are with having the number 2 pick 2 years ago and the first pick last year. The draft class, it seems, is not as deep and as exciting as the previous 2 years. So we'll take the 15th pick. We'll make the best of it, and we'll see what they got. So congratulations to the Buffalo Sabres, who now are in line to ruin another NHL career by winning the draft lotto, as they can do. And they will take whoever is the number 1 pick. And there is not really a consensus. It does sound like it is this kid from the University of Michigan, but you can almost guarantee that if he's going to Buffalo, he won't be in Buffalo in 5 years. He will be somewhere else, like the Jack Eichel situation, which is another thing we will keep an eye on, as we've talked about on the show, is Jack Eichel has made it pretty well known he wants out of Buffalo, and the Rangers are a list. So between the Rangers offseason, maybe getting Jack Eichel, I'm not sure that's the best thing for them, but the Knicks as well. It will be very interesting to see what new professional athletes are playing at the corner of 33rd and 7th at Madison Square Garden in the fall. You'll have to stay tuned for that, Dougie.
I will be.
You will lose sleep over it. So we have not been on since the playoffs started, and so we are now into the second round. But we are going to go through the first round real quick. I had said, and you were all for it also, how cool would it be if we got a Toronto-Montreal first-round series? I said that week I wanted it to finish, because when we were on it, it looked like it was going to happen, but it wasn't official. I said I wanted it to be where Toronto and Montreal finished 2 and 3, and they could play. Or sorry, 1 and 4, and they would play each other. And we got that, and we got a great series. But at the same time, we got an epic choke job. So the the Maple Leafs are known for choking, right? Okay. But I went to school in Boston, so I know Red Sox fans. Eventually, chokes end, right? Rangers hadn't won the Cup for 54 years. Chokes do normally end. Don't say that to Jet fans, maybe, but it usually ends. So the Canadiens in that first round series are up 3-1. I mean, the Maple Leafs are up 3-1. They've basically need to win one more game. They're sitting there in overtime in Game 5 at home. Put the puck in before the opponent puts the puck in, and the series is over. They can't do that, and they lose. They lose on a 2-0 break, on a 2-0 breakaway, actually, in that game. I mean, it was just awful. So now the series goes back to Montreal. You've got to close it out on the road. You've already won Game 3 and 4 in Montreal. Home ice isn't really a big deal in that series because there aren't really fans allowed in Canada anyway, and they lose in overtime again. So you have the chance. So last Monday night, I turn on Game 7 for the Canadiens Maple Leafs. And if you're a hockey fan, this is great, right? You have like 2 historic rivals in a Game 7, and they hate each other. And the Maple Leafs just never seem to show up. I don't know if you didn't watch the game, but it just was not, they deserve to choke. And give credit to the Montreal Canadiens for being down 3-1 against your rival. And Carey Price, who is, and I hate to say this because I am a Henrik Lundqvist guy, is probably up there with Henrik Lundqvist and maybe can be argued to be better. It's probably, you can argue it either way. But he carried that team in that series, and he's got them now in the second round. They can clinch tonight. They're already up 3-0 in Winnipeg, and they have Game 4 tonight.
So they went down 3-0 and came back and won the series.
They went down 3-1. So it was 3-1.
Now, is that like the first time in age? Like,
no.
Normally, that's like the first time.
No, that happened. No. Matter of fact, it happened a couple of years ago in 2015 with the Rangers. They were down 3-1 to the Caps and came back and won Game 7 in overtime on a Derek Stepan goal. But no, it's not. It's just the fact that, like, your franchise is known for choking. You're playing your hated rival, right? Literally, your two Canadian hockey teams that hate each other. You are up 3-1 and you have home ice. You have to win one of the following 3 games. And it doesn't matter which one. Two of the 3 are going to be on your home ice, and 2 of the 3 are going to go to overtime, where all you have to do is put the puck in before the other team once, and it's over, and you can't get it done.
Can't get it done.
And I tell you, there's people now that Mitch Marner is under a lot of heat up there because he didn't do much in the playoffs. Austin Matthews didn't do a lot in the playoffs. I don't know. I don't know with that franchise. I don't know when they're ever going to take the next step. And they've got a lot of steps that they got to take. And do you know that because they got eliminated, they surpassed the Rangers? I read this somewhere. The Rangers had the 54-year curse. They couldn't win the cup, and then they won it. This is now the 50-50 year that they're going to go into. So they have now
the record.
That is, I think, the record in between cups. Yes. Wow. So they have now surpassed it. So
they really stink.
Yes. The other thing in the first round that was interesting, and I'm not going to say that this upset me because it didn't, and it won't upset Brian, who's here either, was the Penguins and the Capitals both losing. They had home ice. And they both lost. So Sidney, we're seeing here, and I had this discussion with someone a couple of weeks ago. We're seeing a changing of the guard in the NHL, whether we want to admit it or not. Sidney Crosby is not Sidney Crosby anymore. Alexander Ovechkin is not Alexander Ovechkin anymore. It does not mean that they're terrible players or I wouldn't want them on my teams, but they're not the dominant players they are. They're in their mid-30s. And the Penguins had the worst goaltending performance in a series I've ever seen by Tristan Jarry. They should have never lost that series, but Tristan Jarry just decided to be the ultimate sieve. Do you know what that is, by the way?
I've heard this before.
You know what it is in hockey?
You could say it.
Okay. So in college hockey, they chant sieve all the time to the opposing goalie. When you make pasta at home, and I don't know who's the cook in your home, but when you make pasta and you pour it in the device where the water seeps out of it, but the pasta, the colander, it's a sieve. Yeah, it's like a sieve. So they call the goalie sieve. Like everything's going,
like
just goes right through. Yes, there you go. Look at you. Taught you something. Little vocab lesson for you. So, we look at the Penguins and Caps losing, and if you're the Penguins now, you've got a lot of questions to answer because you don't have a goalie. You traded Matt Murray to Ottawa. You don't have a goal. Tristan Jarry I don't know how you go back with him. And you have Crosby and Malkin and Letang to that extent getting older. So their window versus the Rangers is a heck of a lot smaller, right? And you have players getting older. So the other thing in the first round I wanted to point out was you see how home ice in hockey, and we say this all the time every year, is that home ice is not as much of an advantage as people think, right? The Canadiens lost Game 7 at home. The Penguins and the Caps had home ice in the series. And the Caps actually lost two games at home. The Penguins lost 2 games at home. Home ice is not really as important as stereotypically people think it is. So remember that going forward.
Well, it should start changing now that we're opening up and more people are coming.
It would. But even in,
even in regular
2 years ago,
even normal world,
the last normal Stanley Cup final, St. Louis at Boston. St. Louis and Boston went to a Game 7 in Boston, right? Rowdy building, tickets on StubHub that they were $2,000 to get in to sit in the top row of the balcony at the TD Garden, and they lost. So home ice, it matters. You'd rather have home ice, and teams would rather because they make money, right? They sell the playoff tickets and the food and the drink and all that stuff. But it's not what people think it is. And you see it in football too, right? I mean, how many times in football do you see upsets on championship weekend, right? It happens. Yeah. Look at Tom Brady going into Lambeau Field this year. You would think, well, I guess Tom Brady has experience playing in the cold, so I won't go down that road. The Florida-Tampa series, the Sunshine State, we said that would be a very fast and high-scoring series, and it was. Give Florida credit. Tampa won that series in 6, but really give Florida credit. Now, they are a team that is young. Barkov, some of these younger guys down there, coached well by Joel Quenneville. They will be around for a couple years. Edmonton cannot get out of the first round again. They got swept by Winnipeg. If you're Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl and these guys out there, you have to, at some point, and this is kind of what you were saying with Julius Randle, but Julius Randle is not Connor McDavid. It's okay for Julius Randle to not carry the Knicks in a series. We kind of don't expect him to. You kind of expect Connor McDavid, if you're that good, find a way to get your team to win. You have Leon Draisaitl also, 2 of these guys, to get swept by Winnipeg. And I know Hellebuck, the goalie in Winnipeg, played a hell of a series. You like that? Hellebuck playing a hell of a series. You've got to find a way to or at least steal a couple games. Put the team on your back and make it a series. So clearly a little bit disappointing if you're an Edmonton fan, but they will be back. And let's give props. The last thing I want to say about the first round, we're going to give props to the Minnesota Wild. who really gave the Vegas Golden Knights a run for their money and took them to 7 games. I don't think that was expected. It certainly was not expected by me. And that is a team that is clearly Bill Guerin, who's the GM there, former player in Pittsburgh and the Islanders, amongst other places, has done a really good job turning that franchise around, and they're heading in the right direction. That is your first round recap. Is there anything you want to add to the first round recap?
You did a great job. I don't think I have to. That was a stellar recap.
So we're ready to proceed on to the second one.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to the second round. We will move now.
I feel like I've watched all the games. I feel like I've been there now.
You do.
Recap.
Right, you do. You feel like you were in the arena waving your playoff towel.
My $2,000 tickets in the nosebleeds.
Okay. So let's go to the second round.
Second round.
Here we are, and the best series to me so far, you could argue it one other series, but to me has been the Bruins and the Islanders, right? They are now tied at 2. They have Game 5 tonight. We're taping this episode on Monday, June 7th, so Game 5 is tonight in Boston. And all of the games, even Game 1, although the score may not be indicative of it, were close. You had 2 overtime games so far. Both teams were really good. And when you watch these two teams, you kind of feel like there is a chance whoever comes out of this series could win the Stanley Cup. I mean, clearly can. These are both 2 very good teams. They're coached really well. I don't hide my love for Barry Trotz. I've said many times he's the best coach in the league. The Bruins are coached well by Bruce Cassidy, and they have a tremendous talent on their roster between Pasternak and Marchand and all these guys. So you kind of feel like whoever wins this series has a legitimate chance of winning the Stanley Cup. But here's the problem I'm having. I hate both these teams. So when I'm watching these games, as a Ranger fan, I don't know what you root for. I've decided I've picked what team I'm rooting for, and that is the Bruins. Because I feel like, and I could get in trouble for this or take some heat, but like the Islanders, you don't realize have fans until something like now. Like now I keep seeing on the internet like watch parties, and you see videos of Islander fans going nuts, but like
where were you?
Where are you all the other parts of the year? Like I never really
Fair weather fans, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there are their diehards, but the Islander fan base annoys me. And, you know, I have a hard time cheering for Boston teams, being a New York sports fan, and the fact that I lived up there for 4 years. But the Bruins, for some reason, I've never hated. I never loved them either. But so I've adopted the Bruins this round. But I will tell you, whoever gets out of this round, I want to lose the next round. This is a temporary thing here. So pay attention to the Bruins and Islander series because it has been excellent. And you should tune in tonight to Game 5. And see how that ends. And the other series in this part of the country, which is the South, is the Carolina Hurricanes and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, Tampa Bay, I was wrong what we were on last time. I had said that, look, I think Tampa, it's going to be very difficult to repeat, which it is, and they're going to have to repeat. They just won the Cup 8 months ago, so you got to repeat. And they are now up 3-1 on Carolina when they won the other night 6-4, the other afternoon rather. So they can now close out the Hurricanes. I do not expect that to be an easy feat. Carolina is home for Game 5. If I was a betting man, which I'm not Jeff Sheesby, your buddy, old man bets. We'll give him a little plug there. I would think the Hurricanes will make this a series back to Tampa in Game 6. And then all bets are off. Tampa better close it out in Game 6 because I do think that this Hurricanes team, they're chippy, they fight, and they're not going to go down easy. So I do expect this to become a series again, even though it's 3-1 at the moment. I would think that the Hurricanes will make it at least a 6-game series, if not 7. Last night, the Vegas Golden Knights tied up Colorado. This series has held serve with home ice. Colorado won the first 2 at home, and then Vegas won the last 2 at home. And by the way, it was pretty cool last night. I don't know if this is like Corona being locked in your house. I was watching the Vegas game, and they had, Wayne Newton, the Vegas entertainer, who I would never, like, if you told me I had free tickets to go see Wayne Newton, I still wouldn't go. But the fact that he was, like, at the game in a hockey jersey, and, like, I hadn't thought of something like that because you don't think of going to Las Vegas in the last year we've all had. Yeah. I just thought was, like, really cool. I don't know why it was, like, refreshing to see Wayne Newton on TV. So
nice.
Yeah. So Colorado, Vegas holding serve back in Colorado tomorrow night for Game 5. This is also very similar to the Bruins Islander series because whoever wins this series is probably – my guess on the Stanley Cup final is it's going to be the winner of Colorado and Vegas and the winner of the Bruins and Islanders. Colorado or Vegas, you could make an argument for either of those two teams can easily win the Stanley Cup. So that series is probably going 7 in Colorado. I would be shocked if one team ended that in 6. and it should be a tight game 7. So it should be fun.
Yeah.
I would tell you to tune in, but look, if you're around and maybe you're flipping around on the remote, maybe you'll.
What is that supposed to mean? Like I don't watch the games.
Well, no, you depend on me for the
games.
weekend. No, you do. But you would watch. Well, I would think, you could tell me if I'm right.
Okay.
I would think you would be more likely to watch a game 7 than a game 5.
Yeah.
Right? You would.
Game 7.
Anybody would. Even with me. I don't watch, like I like the Knicks, but I have a hard time watching basketball because it's like I just got to watch the last 2 minutes and I'm fine. But if you told me it was a game 7, I would be more likely to tune in if you're telling me that like those two teams are playing game 3 and the series is 1-1.
Yeah.
I don't have enough time in my life to do that.
True.
But
well, that's
game
3 is a big game too.
Right, but it's not game 7.
I know. I'm not saying that. But now that I have the new information that's saying that the winner of these 2 series is probably going to be in the Stanley Cup, I'm going to focus on those 4 teams.
Yes, you should. So you should lock in tonight to the Bruins and Islanders game 5 in Boston with the series tied, and you should lock in tomorrow to game 5 in Colorado with Vegas.
And then I'll give you a recap.
I tell you, I will. He says it so threateningly too. Like
I'll give you a recap.
I look forward to it. You know what? How about this? In 2 weeks from now, we're going to be like in the semifinals, so there's only going to be 2 series left.
Yeah.
I could take one series and you could take the other, and we could
give me that responsibility. All right.
And you could do the recap.
A recap off.
Or
we'll have a recap.
Yeah,
off.
see who
Battle
does
of
better.
the recaps.
Yes, we'll see, and we'll have people vote to see who did it better.
I don't want to win.
No, you don't. And if you did win, I'm not in the right job. So the last series we kind of talked about a little bit already, which is Montreal having the chance now to close out Winnipeg in game 4 tonight. Did you see? And you didn't, but did you see the hit in game 1 of Winnipeg Montreal? Mark Scheifele is now suspended 4 games. So basically, this game was over. Okay, and Winnipeg had pulled their goalie. There maybe was like 40 seconds left, and the Montreal player comes behind the net with the puck, and this guy comes out. The Scheifele comes out of nowhere and decks this guy to the point like it's not safe. He's got a concussion and all that stuff. So the league now, and we're not going to get into the league and their suspension protocol because we've talked about the Tom Wilson thing here, but suspends him for 4 games. And he has the nerve to say, like, wow, I don't know. It seems like it's a lot. It seems like it's a lot, dude. You literally
you killed the guy.
You basically sent him. You knocked him out with a concussion. There was no reason to make the hit. If he had scored on the empty net, it doesn't matter anyway, unless you had money on the game, maybe. Yeah. Which,
maybe
I'm sure
he did. Then there's more games for suspension.
I guess. I don't know. So it looks like Montreal is, on the road to getting to the Final Four. So give them credit. A Canadian team has not won the Stanley Cup since 1993.
Wow.
And it was actually Montreal who won it that year. So that would be the last time. So it would be exciting. I'm not a huge Montreal fan myself, but it would be exciting to have a Canadian team in the Final Four, particularly one with the storied history that the Canadiens have.
Gotcha. Who's your favorite total?
Favorite of all the teams that are left?
Who wants to win this year? Yeah, Stanley Cup.
Yeah, you know what? Well, it's definitely not the Bruins or the Islanders. It's not Montreal, and it wouldn't. Winnipeg's out. So I got Tampa, Carolina, Colorado, or Vegas. I would probably say Vegas or Colorado. Who wins that series?
I go Vegas too.
Yeah, you know what? Let's make Wayne Newton. Then we could see Wayne Newton on TV more, right?
And like Vegas is like one of those places where like it's a combination of people from all over. They're not like born bred Vegas annoyance people, like the fair weather Islander fans.
Exactly. I do regret from a ticket point of view because we talk about business stuff, but when the Vegas Golden Knights came into play, they were selling, this would have been 2016, 17. They were selling season ticket packages, right? And they would say to people, hey, we don't have any season ticket subscriptions because we're a new franchise. Do you want to get season tickets? Now, myself, I had thought, what a dumb buy that would be. They're not going to be good, right? And then secondly, to your point, you don't have like born bred people there. Well, you do, but not as much as other markets. And it's not a hockey market and it's the desert, right? So from an investment point of view, having Vegas Golden Knight tickets is probably not good. It became that year the hottest ticket in the NHL.
Yeah.
Like you can't get in T-Mobile Arena out there like on StubHub for crap games for under $200.
Wow.
And you probably also, I would think now, if they were smart, and I'm sure they're doing it, casinos probably own a lot of the good seats and they comp them to their people.
Probably.
I would think that's got to be what they do.
It's kind of going to be like, Madison Square Garden kind of thing.
Yeah. It's become, give the NHL credit, because I was one of these people that when they said we're going to Vegas, I was like, that's weird. But
if you played your cards right, you see what I did there?
I did.
If you played your cards right, you probably could have gotten them to fly you out to Vegas, because if you gamble it, fly you out to Vegas, see the game, and the season tickets probably dirt cheap that first year.
Yeah.
One Ranger game probably costs the season tickets.
Probably does. And as a season ticket holder, I could use a reprieve from my season ticket bill. So one other thing that is very encouraging, is whoever gets out of the Montreal Winnipeg series, which is probably Montreal, has to play a U.S. team now, because they're in the Final Four. The NHL got a reprieve on the border issue. So now the border issue has been solved, and a team can go travel to play in Montreal, if that's where it is, and Montreal can travel to the U.S.
So mid-tournament, we're changing the rules.
No. That was their plan all along. They hadn't gotten permission yet.
Gotcha.
Now,
I thought we're like, let's just restructure
No. Now, it will be interesting, or I should say, let me say it this way. It would have been interesting and kind of scary to see what they would have done if they hadn't gotten permission. I don't know what they would have done. They probably would have had to have done a Final Four bubble somewhere in the United States. But now it looks like it'll be fair and competitive, and teams can cross the border. So kudos to the NHL and their department for getting that stuff solved. And so that's where we will be the next time we are on the air.
Nice.
So that's where we are with hockey. I'm going to bring up one football thing, even though it's out of season, but we'll talk about it. And that is the trade yesterday. Did you see?
No, I thought we were just going to talk about him as a person, but they actually traded him. Oh, go ahead. I didn't see
Julio Jones has left Atlanta. Now, for whatever reason, and I don't know what the reason is. I don't know if there is a reason on my fantasy team. And I only talk about like I do a couple teams, but I only talk about the one that's like the important one that I've never won, that I take too seriously. I have had Julio Jones on my team the last 3 years. I don't know why that is. And I will tell you that he's super talented. Tennessee is getting in but he gets hurt all the freaking time. This guy misses games for injury. I can't say how many times I've had to bench him, or like I'm waiting at 11 o'clock in the morning for a game time decision, and then he's inactive. I mean, now look, he's going to Tennessee, and from a fantasy perspective, it's a great situation for him, because you also have this young receiver, AJ Brown, who's been tearing it up out there. So you've got the opportunity to have a two wide receivers that could be the top wide receiver tandem. Ryan Tannehill, who's the quarterback there, is actually throwing well, as we all know with his stats, and they have Derrick Henry, so opponents have to respect the run. So that's going to be an interesting situation. The question is, can the guy stay healthy? He's never healthy.
Yeah, and I thought they were trying to prolong this trade with him and Aaron Rodgers until like June 16th, because like they didn't have to pay like a certain salary.
There's something like that. The Aaron Rodgers thing, I heard that if he is going to be traded, it is likely to be this week. It's something where you don't have
for
to,
a certain day.
There's a certain you don't have to pay the certain exception on the cap if it's in a window. Yeah. This is the window, but it sounds like he's not getting traded.
I don't know.
Look.
I mean, it's we don't have to switch subjects, but it's the second time Green Bay's done this to a quarterback.
But Brett Favre was at the end of his career. Like the Rangers, Mark Messier
Aaron Rodgers was on the bench for like 3 or 4 years behind Brett Favre.
Yeah, but eventually you have to play at that point in time who the better quarterback is. At that time, it was. The whole
point is that they've drafted Aaron Rodgers,
right?
Which is not fair to either quarterback. You bring in this stud quarterback, and now he has to sit on the bench for 3 or 4 years or whatever.
But okay, so if he didn't play 1 or 2 years,
a high draft pick.
But look how it worked out. You can't look. I mean, even if
it worked out for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Brett Favre had to play for the Jets.
Do you remember? You could look this up. I'm pretty sure Brett Favre's first game ever as a Jet, which was 2008. So we were on our honeymoon. Actually, when the Jets got Brett Favre, we were on our honeymoon in Maui, and we were walking. I don't know why I remember this. I have a weird memory, man. We were walking from the room to the restaurant for dinner. Now, dinner there is like 6 o'clock, but it's like midnight here. The news broke that Brett Favre was traded at like midnight. So I'd gotten a text from somebody, I don't remember who it was, like, home, the Jets got Brett Favre. And I was like, what? And all through that dinner, we had gone to like this nice place. I'm like on my phone, which is not what you're supposed to do on your honeymoon, like be on your phone. But I believe his first game, we could look, you know what? Let's look it up. So I believe Brett Favre's first game was against the Dolphins in Week 1, and his first pass.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm right. I am right about this. Here are the highlights. He threw. It was like typical Brett Favre. All the Jet fans were excited.
Yeah.
My buddy who loves the Jets had the jersey. Like he went out and bought it for some dumb reason for the 1 year he was here. And the first pass he threw, or the first touchdown pass, I don't know if it was the first touchdown pass in the game or one of his touchdown passes, was like a typical Brett Favre, like getting decked, and he just throws it up in the air and it lands in the Jets, and he's like, "Oh, look at that!" And that was Brett Favre.
Yeah.
But hey, for Julio Jones, we will follow him, and we will do. In August, I do plan to have, I think, a really cool guest, not Sheesby, but if he wants to come on, he can. A really cool guest for the fantasy football season coming up.
Nice.
We'll kind of do like a preview show because by then we'll be in full off-season mode for the NHL. And you'll be done with your recaps.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah.
Anything else on your end you want to bring up today that you would like to speak about,
solid, those are some solid recaps. Solid. Now I got some games to look forward to.
I do. You know, I put this together last night, like in 10 minutes. I've gotten like, as we get in episode 34, I've gotten a little bit better with this. This was all, as you know, we weren't sure what day we were going to be on this week. We decided we were on today. Yesterday, we decided. So I literally put it together. But we did get a good recap of the first round. The second round, we get props to the Knicks. We talked a little bit about the Rangers situation with the coach. I would hope the next time you're with me, you're asking me if I'm happy about Gerard Gallant. You know the answer will be yes.
The next time you're with me,
yes, I'll be asking you.
You got to come here instead of doing real world stuff.
Exactly. I got to come. Yes, exactly. How about this? We could negotiate pay at Undefeated Media. Okay. And then we'll see if they pay me more.
All right.
Where I'm currently at on
contract. All right, Aaron Rodgers.
You got it. Yes. I'll sit on the bench for 4 years. But I would like these cool there's cool headbands now. Undefeated Media.
There is. You want a cool headband? I get you.
There is. Our studio audience today is wearing this Undefeated Media headband. Now he's got the shirt on, but he's also got the headband.
In case you missed the shirt, you can see that.
Yes. You get double branding.
Yes.
If you don't see the shirt, you see it on my head.
Brian, do you want to take a knee in front of the table here?
We're going to bring him on camera so you can all see him. But you could see.
A little lower. You got to go lower. You got to go. There you go. Oh, yeah.
So we can see. We can see.
Oh, yeah. Wait, stay still so you can see the phone number. I'm just joking.
Yeah. maybe Dougie Steaks, we will do a contest to give away an Undefeated Media shirt.
I have a box of them.
I tell you. We'll do, next show, we will do some contest to give away an Undefeated Media t-shirt.
Absolutely.
We will do that.
Absolutely.
I'll think of something.
Absolutely.
Well,
what size are you?
I take a large because I feel like they shrink, right? They usually do.
Sure.
Okay, you got it. Whatever you say. All right. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. Again, whether you're on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or Facebook, you can find us. Always email us any questions at mypbshow@gmail.com. We will be back in 2 weeks. I promise we'll be back on the 2-week thing, and then hopefully we'll be going back to every other week or every week. And then I do promise we will start to have, you will see in the month of July for sure, if not sooner, we will have some guests come on the show. And I promise you, there are some really good guests. I am not just saying that. One of them, if we can get it to match up, you will be shocked at. You will be proud that you've watched this Undefeated Media broadcast before this guest was on. Like you knew us before Blank came on the show.
Gotcha. This is our come up show.
Yes. Wow. This is our
I like it.
Thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you all in 2 weeks. Be safe.